This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is Not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey, this is Adrian Gomez from Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the owner of Middle Kingdom Wrestling, Adrian Gomez.
Thank you so much for having me on, James. Glad to be here on Wrestling with Entertainment. I've been seeing the show starting to pop up more and more over the last several months, and a lot of my friends and a lot of people within the Asian and Chinese wrestling entertainment industry has been coming on your show, and I'm just glad to have the opportunity to come on here and hopefully answer some questions about Chinese wrestling. Maybe you guys have already checked us out before on Middle Kingdom Wrestling on YouTube, or Middle Kingdom Wrestling on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. And I hope to give a good introduction about the Chinese wrestling scene and what we've done and what we're doing, and hopefully what we will do in the very near future.
Oh yeah, and the pleasure is all mine. As our listeners have known, if they've been following us for a while, we've interviewed quite a few of the wrestlers from Middle Kingdom, so this is definitely a long time coming, to say the least.
Yeah, I would say so. Like I said, I've seen a lot of my guys on the show, so it's awesome to be on here as well.
Absolutely, and it's great to have you. And you don't have to go looking for Middle Kingdom Wrestling. All of the links to all the promotions, social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Can you tell us what you got coming up next?
Well, right now, I would say we just wrapped up last month our MKW Championship Supercard from Shanghai 2024 event. And by all metrics, especially by fanfare, by our analytics, by by the quality of the show, that was our best wrestling event that we've ever produced in MKW. And a lot of people had a chance to see it live, because the show was broadcasted live professionally through Bilibili, Youku, Huya. These are Chinese apps.
Yes.
However, we understand that a lot of our Western audience hasn't had the chance to see the show. So what's started this week is that every Wednesday we are uploading a match from that event on our YouTube. And those matches from the event are all with English commentary by Walker Stewart. Walker Stewart, he is the global voice of New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom. And starting this year, we actually started working with him by giving our events not only English commentary, but just elevating our events with his professional style of commentary. His storytelling abilities and his calls are very good. So we're very excited that this week we launched the first episode, the first match from that event in Shanghai. And for every Wednesday from now on, for the next 6 weeks, we'll be uploading a match from that show with commentary by Walker Stewart.
That's awesome. And I did want to talk about that event, the Supercard from Shanghai. It does seem like it is your biggest event to date, and it has garnered Middle Kingdom Wrestling a lot of attention as well. No?
Yeah, I mean, we have had several. I think one of the strong points of Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and one of the main things that I try to do as the person leading the company is I try to make sure that the media, and I'm not only talking about the wrestling media, which I do respect very much, but sometimes it's very difficult to have wrestling have the attention of like a mainstream media channel.
Oh yeah.
What I'm talking about is like Reuters or The Guardian or the Associated Press and these kind of things. And I've worked hard to establish relationships over the years where our events have always been able to get a number of media outlets to be focused on our events, reporting on our events. But I think our most recent show was a culmination of several years of the interest in the media, because we've sent out feelers to media. We've sent out feelers to the BBC. We've sent feelers to China Daily, like, hey, if you guys are interested in our story, if you're interested in our journey of building pro wrestling in China, we think that this might be a compelling narrative. And what we saw was that on our recent show, we got mainstream articles all over the world, probably too many to name. So I'm actually very proud of the attention that our last event was able to garner.
Hell yeah. If only it was in the Tokyo Dome, then you would have got Dave Meltzer's attention.
Maybe we can go in, I don't know, maybe we'll be in the Beijing Dome one day.
Obviously we're talking about pro wrestling in China. When I did message you, I was surprised to learn that this is a very local American interview for me. You're currently in Arizona as we're recording this. What kind of brought you back to the States? Just deep compression, or business, or what's going on there?
A combination of a lot of things. I try to come back to the States every few years, obviously, to see my parents, see my family, spend time with them, because I'm usually out of the town for about maybe 2 years at a time. So I like to come home, see everybody, and every time I'm back in the States, I do make efforts to connect either with the local wrestling scene, not only in Arizona, but other partners that I can't really name right now. But it is a little bit of personal reasons, and also business opportunities that I'm trying to explore that could, who knows, might be able to unfold down the line.
What's the first thing you do, or the first thing you eat once you come off the plane coming back to America?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. Let me think. Because I'm just trying to think, what did I eat when I got off the plane? Just not even, about like 10 days ago, 9 or 10 days ago. What was the first meal I had? I think I had, oh my gosh. It's slipping my mind. I asked my dad when he picked me up if we could eat, oh my gosh. I think it was Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay. I mean, that's a first good meal back in America.
Yeah, I love Dunkin'.
I love their toasted coconut donuts. They're just delicious.
Oh yeah, it's bomb.
Now, going back to Middle Kingdom, you're coming up, I believe this upcoming May, 10 years of Middle Kingdom Wrestling.
Mhm.
And from what I've gathered from like my own research and what I've heard is that pro wrestling companies don't necessarily last too long in China. They kind of pop in, pop out, not really sustainable. So what kind of made Middle Kingdom stand out and kind of defy those odds and last, as long as it has?
Well, I think one of the things that has made Middle Kingdom Wrestling stand out is actually our longevity. So that's one thing. But how did we get that longevity? I think a lot of it has just been that there's always been I guess you could say like a grassroots feeling with our company, especially in the initial stages. I think people, especially initially, when they see the potential that could be for a wrestling organization, I think you'll see people, attach themselves to an organization just for the sheer fact that, hey, they want to see wrestling work in China. They want to see their dream, their hobby, their love, which, all of us love wrestling. They want to see this thing work. And I think what made MKW work well in the early stages is that even though I was always, the leader, the owner of the company, but I think a lot of people in the company kind of always felt like they had a stake in it, that they had a part in it. And that, even though that wasn't necessarily like reflected in like a contract or anything like that, but people in my company felt like they had a part in it, that their roots were in it. And I think that's what kind of kept Middle Kingdom Wrestling from ever closing down, especially in the very difficult initial stages when we're just trying to build and build. That the people in our company, I'm talking about our wrestlers, and I'm talking about our, like people who are running our social media, or people that are helping edit our videos, that all of them felt like they had a stake in the company. And that's not to say that that, and I'm not only talking about like financially, obviously we would try to pay what we could,
right.
But more importantly, we try to let everybody feel, hey, we all have a stake in it. We all have a share in this collective dream to make wrestling in China succeed. And I would say that kind of like union that we had is kind of what helped Middle Kingdom Wrestling like continue forward and navigate during some really tough times. And that's not to say that times have gotten much easier.
Right.
Definitely people know us more, which is great. And that people are more aware of us. And we've had, obviously our following is bigger now than it's ever been. But, we are still trying to have generate that internal feeling that everybody in the company, regardless of their spot on the card or what they're doing backstage or any other part of the crew, that everybody kind of has a stake in MKW being able to propel professional wrestling in China as a culture and hopefully as a career one day.
What is something you know now about promoting that you wish you knew when you first started Middle Kingdom?
Wow. I think maybe here's one thing I'll say is that I'm not saying it's not a good thing to be a fan. I am a fan of wrestling. First and foremost, I am a professional wrestling fan. And however, I do think that if you always think like a fan and appear like a fan and, show that side of you as a fan, I think that is something that is in the long term probably negative because it might affect the way you do booking. It might affect your business decisions. It might affect a lot of potential issues that could be resolved if you don't look at wrestling as just a fan, but you're able to look at it as more as an organization that just happens to do wrestling. But at the end of the day, an organization still needs to operate like an organization, especially a for-profit organization. So I would say in my early years, I was very open about my wrestling watching, about how much I love wrestling, and I'm still open about it. I just have the deeper and more serious and more financial investments and life sacrifices that I've put into MKW, the more I have kind of stepped aside as being a wrestling fan and trying to take it more towards being somebody who is a leader of an organization that is trying to move forward and not just a wrestling fan.
No, I absolutely get that. You know, obviously we're all fans here. We wouldn't be talking if we wasn't wrestling fans at one point. But sometimes you have to separate the fandom from the business that, you know, you're running.
Exactly. And I think that is it's difficult. And look, I will always say I'm never gonna run away from being a wrestling fan. I am a wrestling fan. And because I'm a wrestling fan, I've been able to get here. And hopefully I can get further. But, you know, I just think that there is a point where we need to kind of have, you know, the wrestling fan mind and then the organizational leader mind. And that organizational leader is something that I wish I would have instilled at an earlier time frame and with more focus on that over just being a wrestling fan.
Let's get into, you know, obviously the wrestlers of Middle Kingdom. And obviously the most prominent right now is your world champion. Can you tell us about the Slam? I believe he was from day one, no?
So the Slam is China's, we can say, the OG wrestler of China. At a very young age, he decided to go to I think for visa issues he couldn't go to Japan, so he went to Korea, because at the time there was a Korean wrestling school that was being run by a Japanese company, and so he went to Korea to learn pro wrestling. He came back to China, and not only did he teach wrestling and most of the time he was teaching it for free, but he was also built his own wrestling ring, and he built really the future of Chinese pro wrestling. I would say that the Slam has his hands in so many aspects of Chinese pro wrestling even today. And the Slam is our world champion. It took him a while. You're right that he wrestled at our very first event for Middle Kingdom Wrestling. He did a lot in the beginning stages. He believed in the MKW product. He believed in my vision. And, you know, this is somebody that we've been working with together for about 10 years. And earlier this year, he did become the MKW World Champion. And in his very own words, he's won the most important championship in the history of Chinese pro wrestling.
Wow, that's a big honor.
Absolutely. I was very honored that he said that.
Definitely. No, I'm interested just by the name of this title. The Belt and Road title. Where does that kind of come from?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So the Belt and Road, or we can call it the One Belt, One Road initiative. What it is actually an inter-regional infrastructural plan that was proposed by Chairman Xi Jinping of the Chinese government. And what the original idea of the Belt and Road is that it was going to create infrastructure, whether that be like railroads or airports or ports for trading routes, and and in order to rejuvenate the old Silk Road. So China and Europe used to have something called the Silk Road, which was what connected China through the Middle East all the way to Europe. And that was like where most of the world's development came from as far as countries being able to trade with each other. So the Belt and Road is kind of like a 21st century old Silk Road philosophy where countries cooperate with each other in order to bring more inter-regional trading and inter-regional cultural exchange. So we thought, what a great idea to incorporate this uniquely Chinese characteristic into professional wrestling. And as you know, there's like the Intercontinental title. So we just thought, why don't we have the Belt and Road Championship, a championship that promotes this inter-regional friendliness, this promotes bilateral friendship exchanges between countries. So that's why our Belt and Road Championship, we try to kind of use that as an opportunity, as like a stepping stone to not only promote professional wrestling in China, but also use it as a stepping stone to promote wrestlers that live along Belt and Road member nations.
That's actually really awesome. Like, there's an actual meaning.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Belt and Road. We've actually had, and we've actually been able to promote the Belt and Road in different countries. For example, we had a major event in Nepal that was completely in support and sponsored by the Nepalese government, and that was under the umbrella of the Belt and Road. And the main championship that was promoted was the MKW Belt and Road Championship. We've also been able to cooperate with the local government in Harbin, Heilongjiang, China, to promote the Belt and Road. And we hope to find more opportunities to promote the Belt and Road, promote China's friendliness with other countries, and also promote the development and cultural exchanges under the umbrella of that Belt and Road initiative.
And the current champion right now is Wang Tao, I believe, no?
Yes, Wang Tao is the current MKW Belt and Road champion. And, and as the Belt and Road champion, we try to, fix him up with opponents that are BRI member nation. So like with Andrew Tang from Singapore. I'm not sure if he's been on your show. I think he has.
No, I have not had Andrew yet.
Yeah, also with Benji from Hungary, also with Shaheen from Dubai, an Emirati wrestler. And yeah, like we look forward to seeing if there's more cooperation with the Belt and Road. In fact, he was invited by Thailand's Setup Pro Wrestling, which I think you know Pumi.
Yes.
And Wang Tao defended the Belt and Road Championship in Setup. And one of the main reasons we did that is because one of the strongest ties under the BRI is Thailand and China, which is a very, very active trading port between China and Thailand. A lot of cultural exchanges that occur there. So that's why we thought it was a great idea to have Wang Tao represent that the relationship between China and Thailand by defending the Belt and Road Championship in Setup Thailand Pro Wrestling.
Oh yeah. And your current tag team champions are the Sino Bad Boys. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, so the Bad Boys are it's Xuan Xuan, or Wang Xuan, and Jun Jie. If you are familiar with an organization that was kind of a little had a little bit of spotlight on it some years ago prior to COVID. They came from the OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. Okay. And I think they are awesome together. They actually were a tag team working in OWE. And the first time that I invited them to MKW, I invited them to come together as a tag team. What we found is that not only are they all excellent wrestlers and with a great foundation under them, but also wrestlers that I think the crowd really likes to watch. I think you'll find that people find them to be very interesting, a bit funny, handsome, bad boys, and they won the tag team championships at last year MKW Championship Supercard from Shanghai. They're just really great wrestlers. In fact, just to highlight Junjia a little bit, not only has Junjia been active in MKW since he left OWE, but he's also been working for an organization in Japan called GLEAT. Oh yeah. And he's actually got he's working full time for them as well. So under his old trainer Shima.
No, Middle Kingdom has had a lot of wealth of women's wrestlers come true, but we don't necessarily have a Middle Kingdom Women's Championship. Is that something that we would see?
Well, the first event we ever canceled, and that was because of COVID. So as you know, COVID originated here in China. So obviously we got the news before everybody about COVID-19. Right. And when we announced our all-female tournament called the all-female tournament, which was going to have 8 women from all over the world come to China and compete for a trophy. And we thought that was going to kickstart our women's division. Unfortunately, due to COVID, that made things very difficult. But now that we're in a post-COVID world, this is definitely something we want to continue to explore. Unfortunately, the attracting women in China so far to be a professional wrestler has proven to still be a difficult task. Not just for Middle Kingdom Wrestling, but I would say for any organization in China. We have all tried our best. Maybe we haven't tried our best. I don't want to say we've tried our best, but we have tried to bring women into the fold, in particular Chinese women. It just seems like there's still a little bit of a barrier there that we hope to overcome. That's not to say that Chinese women aren't into combat sports. As we can see, the UFC and one championship, and boxing, there's a lot of very successful female fighters, Chinese female fighters, and of course, several successful Olympic athletes that are women, Chinese women. So, I hope this is something that we can continue to build, and hopefully we will be able to overcome this challenge and have a dedicated Chinese female roster that can compete with an international female roster. And once we feel we have that, then we can look into the first ever and inaugural women's wrestling champion in China.
And that inaugural champion should definitely be Alexis Lee. Just putting that out there.
Well, I would say she would definitely, I can't, I don't want to reveal an entrant now, but, she'd definitely be one of the first members of any tournament that we would think to put on for women's championships in China.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of the pandemic, obviously not the best of times to be running a promotion, especially in the, the place that originated it. That the champion at that time was a one zombie dragon that kind of got used through that time. Could you just tell us about your relationship with Zombie Dragon and what it kind of mean to you to have him, kind of carry the company during that rough time?
Yeah, definitely. So Zombie Dragon came to us, maybe about 2 years before COVID. And in that period, he was actually already, he quickly made a name for himself on our roster and also throughout the Chinese wrestling scene. He started to become very much in demand in the Asian wrestling scene, and not just as a wrestler, but as a trainer. We originally had him come to MKW to be the head trainer of Middle Kingdom Wrestling's wrestling school. And what we found is that he was always one of the most consistent wrestlers with us as far as the way the fans enjoyed watching him, his ability to work with pretty much anybody on the roster, regardless of their skills set. He was able to elevate everybody around him. He actually did become the MKW World Champion right before COVID. He became the champion in December 2019, and COVID was in January 2020. So what was very interesting about it is that during COVID, as you know, it was very difficult to run events in public settings. So we decided to divert our resources towards creating a studio show. So I think we can all remember how WWE and AEW and TNA and Ring of Honor and all those companies, they started doing these like studio wrestling shows. And, I actually got a lot of advice from David Marquez. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but I think he's a pretty big I think in Los Angeles wrestling, it would be hard to not know his name. Yeah, so, I got a lot of advice because David Marquez had actually been doing studio wrestling for years, actually, even before it became like a cool thing when like NWA started doing it. And, I thought, what, let's do our own studio show. And before we did our first studio wrestling show, we were able to get a deal with like a Chinese media company that would host us and give us like a very primetime slot on their media catalog. And we had, the show was pretty much centered around Zombie Dragon. We had loads of, we recorded about 44 episodes, I think. So we did about 44 weeks of in-studio production. Every episode was about 45 minutes. I would say that was honestly one of the most fulfilling times for MKW because we recorded about 5 or 6 times. Each time we filmed wrestling matches over a course of like 5 days. I thought we learned a lot about production. We learned a lot about camera placement. We learned a lot about lighting and video editing and live directing and a lot of things like that. Zombie Dragon being one of the most experienced guys on the roster, he pretty much led the charge on, the wrestling matches on that show. I would say he was like the main guy, him and Big Sam, I have to, Bufa as well. I would say like they helped a lot on the roster, work through these very grueling schedule to put on the MKW Blast Off show, which even though we don't do it anymore, and we've stopped having to do it because COVID's behind us. And even though I wish it would have garnered more attention, I would say that was probably one of the most fulfilling times as a promoter, as a producer, as a director, as a booker. I think all of us really just got closer together during that time. We were in a difficult position because the world was confused. The world was in shambles over COVID. And we were still able to produce wrestling in a unique and special way that made us closer and also elevated everybody's game.
It sounds like you, despite the circumstances, you got a lot of experience points out of that time.
Yes, I would say yes. I would say that COVID, the COVID era of MKW, that was probably the busiest we'd ever been. It was honestly the busiest we've ever. We still haven't gotten back to that time. So before COVID, we were running about 6 shows a year. So like every 2 months we'd have a show. And then during COVID, we ran so many times, all these tapings, in that year and a half. And then in that 2-year period. And then things got progressively more difficult because China enacted the zero COVID policy. But as soon as they reversed the zero COVID policy, we've been trying to get back to where we were, and it has been difficult. I think you can see that Middle Kingdom Wrestling, we've definitely run a lot less than before, but currently we're in a mode where we're trying to put our best foot forward. Instead of running a lot of events, we want to run a few very, very good ones. And hopefully we can use this opportunity to, find good partners that can join us, and we can run more often, like back to pre-COVID. That's our goal.
Oh yeah. Now, during that time, you had another wrestler that we haven't seen, maybe since, the Curry Kid.
You mean Curry Kid?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Curry Kid. He was also a big part of the show. Curry Kid often worked the undercard, Zombie Dragon, the top card. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're a fan of Curry Kid, then I don't know. I would need to hear more support for Curry Kid. If I hear enough support for Curry Kid from the fans, from members of the wrestling media, then maybe I will. Maybe there's an opportunity to call him back.
Curry Kid versus Zombie Dragon. It's what the people want.
That's the match they want.
Yes.
Okay. We'll work on it.
But this was definitely not the match Zombie Dragon wanted. Can you tell us about that hardcore match he had that involved silkworms?
Oh yeah. Oh man. China, we have something called the mantra of MKW, the slogan has always been pro wrestling with Chinese character. We have to understand that, at the end of the day, I think like an American. I have an American mind. I have an American spirit. So when we do wrestling, I do try to, in a way, distance myself from my Americanness because I'm trying to appeal to a Chinese audience. And that's, and I do have a lot of great advice from advisors around me who are Chinese. And I do try to look at, elements of Chinese culture to incorporate into our show. Now, this brings me to the silkworms. Now, the silkworms are a popular snack, barbecue snack in North China. So basically, the silkworms, when they pupate, before they become the silk moth, they turn into a pupa, which is like between the worm, between the caterpillar, and between the butterfly.
Yeah.
And that's what Chinese people like to snack on. Often over beer with some spices. They put some spices on the silkworm, on the pupas, and then they put it over fire, and then they snack on them, have a cold beer. And, one day I passed by a morning market, and I saw on the morning market they were selling. There's loads of boxes of pupas, and if you touched the pupas, it would wiggle a little bit because there is a live worm. I mean, there's a live butterfly inside, right? And we just had this idea, and I pitched it. I said, everybody's always doing, the thumbtack spot. What if we did a silkworm spot where, I buy a bunch of worms and we drop it in the middle of the ring and we smash somebody on it. Now, in retrospect, I can see that might offend like PETA or some like animal rights activists or whatever, but they were going to be sold to be eaten anyway that night, so it burned. So Zombie Dragon, I can't quite remember the spot, but I think he slammed somebody, powerbombed somebody, I can't remember. And yes, it turned into a very gross and sticky and green mess in the middle of our canvas. Now, I'll tell you one thing. We did throw away the canvas. Because after we I'm like, everybody was like, I'm not wrestling in that ever again. I'm like, okay, well, I'll make a new one. So that was the story of the silkworms.
Yeah, from talking to Zombie Dragon, it seems like he's still pretty angry about that.
Oh no. You know what? I will say this. If I knew, I guess this. I'll be honest. This is the first time I've ever talked about it publicly. I can understand this. I'm a promoter, and wrestlers don't want to sometimes say directly to the promoter, I don't want to do this, right? But since in the 6 years since that spot, I have come to learn that almost all the wrestlers were in agreement that they wish they would have said, Adrian, can we not do this? And I want to say I apologize to Ho Ho Loon, Zombie Dragon, Cam, everybody. It was a gross spot. Sometimes my ideas, they need a little bit of a little bit more direction from the wrestlers. So I apologize. I will never, ever ask anybody to get slammed on bugs again.
Well, you mentioned him, Ho Ho Loon. He was actually a part of the origination of Middle Kingdom, no?
Actually, yes. The Ho Ho Loon wrestled the first ever match on the first ever show of Middle Kingdom Wrestling.
And I mean, obviously, he's been a big proponent for, pro wrestling in Asia. Obviously, I believe Hong Kong, he had his promotion. So what's your relationship with Ho Ho? Because he comes with, that knowledge and that wisdom. And obviously, he's a name as well.
We, and I say we, I mean like Middle Kingdom Wrestling and Ho Ho Loon have had a great relationship, and we continue to have a great relationship. He brings, like you said, a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom that, the Chinese wrestling scene still doesn't have that many figures of. I'm talking about individual figures that have that level of wisdom, that level of knowledge, that level of experience.
Right.
And Ho Ho Loon is one of those folks that, we will always do our best to highlight his experiences while also, as you said, highlighting him as a name and also highlighting what he's done for not only Chinese wrestling, but of course Hong Kong wrestling, where he is the father of Hong Kong wrestling. He built such a great company in Hong Kong Wrestling Federation, and he is no longer the president of Hong Kong Wrestling Federation. He gave the reins to Bitman, who has gone on to make his own mark and kind of pave his own way about how to develop Hong Kong wrestling, and that's also he also has a great vision, and for Hong Kong wrestling. But just to go back to Ho Ho Lun, he's somebody that I think is a very valuable asset here in Asia, not just with MKW, but as you can see, he's kind of a normal name in the Asian wrestling scene. It would be difficult to name a promotion he hasn't worked for in Asia, and isn't valued as a performer and as an advisor and as a friend. I think he's a friend to everybody.
Now, I feel like you can't necessarily talk about Middle Kingdom Wrestling without talking about the stable. Big Sam, Uncle Money, Silva, Chairman, and Queen Marie.
Yeah. What would you like to say? What would you like me to say about them?
Tell us whatever you'd like to say about them.
Well, I'll tell you what. The next week, on YouTube, we are going to show their final match. Unfortunately for them, maybe fortunately for others, but the stable are no more.
Yes.
Unfortunately. And the stable are scheduled next week. Their match, which is Big Sam and Uncle Money, with Chairman Al and Queen Marie, tagging with The Statement, Andrew Tang, versus Hong Wan, Sunny Z, and Sky Huang from NTW, New Taiwan Wrestling. And that was one of the most shocking moments of the show. I mean, it wasn't only the quality of the wrestling show that we had last month. It was also some of the major events that unfolded. The fact that since 2017, now keep that in mind, the stable been together since 2017.
Oh yeah.
Their names, like those names, like Big Sam, Ash Silva, Uncle Money, with Queen Marie and Chairman Al. I mean, they were and have been the featured foreign act in Chinese wrestling, and not just Chinese wrestling. Actually, they've also went to Korea, Japan, and they were the featured foreign act of MKW and Chinese wrestling as a whole. So, I mean, it's definitely a bit of an era, the fact that we're going to go in a post-stable Chinese wrestling world. But I do look forward to everybody seeing the way it all unfolded next week on our YouTube channel. During that match, you'll see what happens. And, I think that was we're in a new era of Chinese wrestling.
And just Big Sam specifically, like he was Middle Kingdom champion at one point. Kind of had the company on his back, kind of like Zombie Dragon before the pandemic. Can you tell us about Big Sam and your relationship with him, and being kind of one of the staples of the company?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually Big Sam's relationship in Chinese wrestling precedes Zombie Dragon, right. And his relationship with even like the Slam and Ho Ho precedes mine. I think Big Sam, when I first made MKW, he, like I had mentioned before, really felt, and I hope continues to feel, like they have like a stake, and and that's somebody that like we can lean on to not only look out for like the best interest of Chinese wrestling, but also as a quality player in the ring. And somebody that fans really connect with, whether they're booing him or cheering him. I think Big Sam, in the early days, when he became our third world champion, he pretty much held the belt for, like a year and like 10 months, 9 months, something like that. And yeah, I mean, like he as the world champion with Queen Marie, with Chairman Al, with Ash Silva and Uncle Money, always around him, always making trouble. I think it really created a very compelling story of people wanting to see Big Sam get his comeuppance. When it eventually did in Michael Sue, I thought it was like a really great. It was a really great moment for Middle Kingdom Wrestling, and also kind of elevated, I think, a lot of people along the way in his championship run. And I do want to say, as a side note, Big Sam, even though he's not with the stable now anymore, it's unarguable that probably Big Sam right now in his current incarnation is probably the most focused, the most serious, and the most fierce that he's ever been. And I look forward to seeing Big Sam compete in more matches in MKW and in Chinese wrestling, because I think even without the stable, he does have Queen Marie with him, and his skills in the ring are continuing to be elevated match after match. I think there's almost a night and day between Big Sam's match quality, from the first matches with MKW to now. He's improved a lot. So that's why he's been getting a lot of great match opportunities, and I look forward to seeing him mix it up with more great wrestlers in the future.
It sounds like the Slam better watch his back, but it also sounds like Big Sam might have to pay Uncle Money. So it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities that we can see for, I don't know if they're exciting necessarily for Big Sam, but as fans, I think that we have a lot of really fun and interesting matchups that we can anticipate in the future.
Now, you mentioned it early on. You held an event in Nepal. You even was a guest of the Prime Minister of Nepal. I believe you was given a medal. What was that experience like, to bring, Middle Kingdom Wrestling, out of Japan into a different country?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, that is how we elevate wrestling. It's when we try to get wrestling into the spotlight in non-wrestling normal situations. So what I'm trying to say is this: in front of government eyes, in front of civil servants, such as government workers, and being able to use pro wrestling as this tool to get over another message. We were trying to promote the China and Nepal friendly ties through professional wrestling. And the fact is that was our original vision. And the fact that we worked so hard to be able to be in this position, to be able to be treated so well as advocates of diplomacy through pro wrestling is just incredible. And this is something that I continue to work on. A few years ago, we collaborated with the United States State Department. So the United States Embassy fully funded a professional wrestling tour in China, where the aim of the shows of this tour was to promote the relationship through America and China. This, to me, I feel like this is what I mean when I say I wish I was able to look at wrestling more as an organizational leader and less as a wrestling fan. Because when you look at wrestling with an organizational leader mindset, you're able to get more opportunities and find paths that you can cross with unlikely partners, like the government in Nepal, like the United States State Department, and like what we had recently with Bandai Namco, Shanghai-based, partnering up with us to have our most recent show. You know, this is what I mean when I say, this is what kind of like allows, it's, you know, when you have an open mind, when you think outside the box, when you think outside the wrestling box, you can find that there is no situation, no avenue where wrestling can't fit. That's what's beautiful about wrestling. Wrestling can be whatever you want it to be. There is no right or wrong when it comes to wrestling, whether that's in a wrestling ring, or maybe it's on a mat somewhere, or maybe it's in mud, like they do in Uganda. You know what I mean? Find ways to incorporate wrestling to get across the goal and the mission of other organizations, and then through that, you get win-win bilateral relations that benefit both organizations, whether that's through just benefiting promotionally or financially or through other ways. You know, that is, what I hope to continue to accomplish in the future as we move forward.
Well, definitely some fantastic experiences, in the world of pro wrestling, which leads us to Adrian's bizarre adventure. You're in the world of pro wrestling, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, man. Yeah, a road story that fits the description of a bizarre story. I'll tell you what. I was in the process of, I was doing two things. So I went to Myanmar, or Burma, some people call it, but Myanmar is during January or February 2020. And I went there for two reasons. One is because I was exploring an opportunity to bring professional wrestling, to bring MKW to Myanmar. And number two is because I was also involved in another industry called Lethwei, which is like bare knuckle fighting.
Okay.
And I wanted to export bare knuckle fighting to China. Anyway, while I was in Myanmar, I got sick. Okay. And because I had just come to China, and at the time, everybody was extremely afraid of anybody coming from China. So as soon as, so I got really sick. I think I got food poisoning. And when I went to the hospital to say that, hey, I think I need like some antibiotics because I got food poisoning, they immediately looked at my passport and they said, you just came from China. I said, yeah. And they said, you stay here. I said, what's going on? And then suddenly loads of white suits came and they put me in the back of an ambulance. And I said, where am I going? And they said, they weren't even telling me like where I'm going. They said, you need to go right now. And I said, I don't want to go in there. And then they said, well, we'll bring the police if you don't get in the ambulance. And I'm like, oh my God. So I got in the ambulance and we drove out about an hour and a half, and they put me in a virus facility in the middle of the forest in Myanmar.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was actually a facility that's used for, I guess, it was used for HIV patients.
Okay.
So I'm like, why am I here? They're like, you need to be here. And they actually put me in a bubble. So they put me in a bubble, and as they, they put me in a bed and they put a bubble around my bed. And I had to stay there. And I admit, I was like, I want to talk to my wife. I want to talk to my family. I want to talk to anybody. I said, what's going on? What is going on? They're like, you might have COVID because you're sick and you come from China. I'm like, I don't think I have COVID. And they're like, you need to stay here until the government lets you leave. And I ended up staying in that hospital 9 days.
Damn.
9 days. They wouldn't let me leave. And actually, the United States State Department, the embassy, the USA embassy in Burma, called me, and they were negotiating my release.
Wow.
But yeah, in that time, I got called by loads of people because, my name, I don't want to say my name is like famous or anything, but like I made my issues. I announced it on Twitter. I said, hey, I'm stuck in a viral hospital in the middle of nowhere in Myanmar. And I can't contact my family. I can't contact anybody. And then I had Reuters called me for an interview. I had wrestling media call me for an interview. I had I also had Brian Alvarez. I was on their show.
Okay.
The Observer Radio, and just sharing my story with everybody that I could. Yeah. So that is my most bizarre story. By the way, I didn't have COVID.
But it sounds like it was a really scary story until you used it as a great opportunity to promote Metal Kingdom Pro Wrestling.
Oh man, what I thought, I thought it was a good promotion opportunity. Actually, as you said, I had loads of media calling me, because I was the first American at that time in history to be held against my will because I might have a virus, I might have COVID. So I was like I was the point of contact for a lot of journalists trying to find out this ongoing COVID-19 story. And of course, every opportunity I will talk about Metal Kingdom Wrestling. I'm like, I'm going to make use of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you'd like to be the first of, but I'm pretty sure that's not one of them.
Not quite.
Keeping up on interesting and/or bizarre adventures, can you tell us about that time you were at Natsu Sumire's birthday party?
Oh, Natsu Sumire's birthday party?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, how do you know about that one?
I do my research.
Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting story. We did. She has her own bar, Natsu. So Natsu's a former Stardom wrestler. And she obviously has a very big fan base. People like her for her wrestling skills, for her beauty, and just for her personality. Because she's actually kind of has a very wild personality, I guess. She's quite open about drinking and partying and things like that. So, my friend Alan, who's also Chairman Al, when we were in Tokyo for a wrestling show. Oh, we were in Tokyo because Zombie Dragon was going to wrestle, and Michael Sue was going to defend the MKW World Championship.
Okay.
At a TT show or Pro Wrestling Alive.
That was the show in the rain, right?
In where?
That was the show in the rain.
Actually, it's a separate show.
Okay.
So this was a show in Pro Wrestling in the Basement Monster ring.
Okay.
Basement Monster. And anyway, I think the day before the show, Alan said, "Hey, do you guys want to go to Natsu's birthday party? It's open invite." And we're just like, sure. So he messaged her, and she said she was cool with it. So we went to her birthday party, and it just, what else can I say about the birthday party? We drank a lot. Obviously, she has her brand of bubble wine or champagne. One of the wrestlers there, I won't name who, but there was a female wrestler, there was a male wrestler. They invited us to a very interesting after party we didn't go. It sounded interesting, but maybe my wife wouldn't have approved. It just was a very fun night. Actually, I've been trying to get Natsu to come to China since then, but she runs that bar, and she was actually supposed to come to the Shenzhen show that we did, the recent Shenzhen show that we did in January. She was supposed to fight on that one, but at last due to scheduling conflicts with her bar, because she runs the bar, and if she leaves Japan, she's got to leave the bar.
I got you.
And that's money for her. So I understand, and I just said, okay, well, I guess in the end, we won't. We'll find another opportunity for us to work together. But yeah, that was our experience partying with Natsu, and I guess like some other Stardom wrestlers. I don't want to name names. I really don't. You know, everybody's. I think everybody's there just to be discreet and have fun.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Definitely not discreet. Middle Kingdom Wrestling was a part of a movie?
Oh. Wow. We've been a part of a few movies. Like, we've assisted with movies. Like, movies that might need a wrestling set or wrestling scene. We've assisted. I'm not quite sure which one you're talking about right now. Can you specify which one that you
I
found?
think the last one. I don't have a lot of details on it. But there was a crew that was set up to all around the ring.
If you're talking about a film, there was Cold Ray, who's a former MKW World Champion. His day job is that he is a movie director.
That's the one. That's the one I was referring to.
And he funded his own short film.
Okay.
He funded his own short film to debut at a Shanghai movie festival, and it was a pro wrestling centric movie. Obviously, the plot wasn't, it wasn't like a pro wrestling movie, but it was a movie where the characters themselves, they are part of this wrestling world while they're dealing with their own personal issues, whether that be, relationship issues or financial issues and so on. So this movie was, I think we filmed it about 2 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I thought that was a fun experience. I mean, we tried our best with the situation, with the budget. We did. I believe we should release it, but Cold Ray has said he's not satisfied with the movie. He edited the movie together. He put it together into a final cut, but he never released it. And I said, you spent all this time, all this money to do this. You should release it. But he's still adamant that he doesn't want to release it because he's not satisfied with the final quality of it. But yeah, we worked pretty hard on that movie. Maybe I've been asking him, actually. You remind me that I should ask him, maybe we can put the movie up on our YouTube or something. I mean, I think it's an interesting story. I think we worked hard on it. I think he worked very hard on it. And, he put his heart and soul into this project. So I thought that was an interesting experience for me to be an actor on this movie. And watch how the film process, the film industry, is able to put together a picture.
Hell yeah! Hashtag release the footage.
Yeah, release the Cold Ray cut.
Yes. I believe that's a great segue into the colossal question. Let's say that they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh man, that is a colossal question.
Yes,
for sure. I would say I would want any piece from James Horner. I would want James Horner, who is the lead orchestra guy who did Titanic.
Okay.
And he did. He passed away, unfortunately. I would like an original piece from him.
Okay.
I would like to license. I would like to license Final Countdown.
Okay.
We're
bringing out the big budget.
Yeah. And I would like to license Taylor Swift, Shake It Off.
Okay. Very interesting, very eclectic group for sure. But I'm thinking it. Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays you? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Who would play me? Who would play me? I like I want to say oh my, you're the first person who's ever asked me this. You know, I'm just trying to think of some recent films I've watched where I really connect with the character.
Okay.
Like the actor doing the character. I would like to be played by Nathan Fielder from the Canadian show Nathan Fielder for You. And The Curse. I really like him because he's very deadpan, and I think only he could kind of show my life as far as like a deer in a headlights kind of way. Okay, the next one. Then did you have a follow-up question after the actor?
And now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast.
Wow.
Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
I can't tell you who would play them.
That's
because
fine.
I think
we could leave it up to
but
casting.
I can tell you 3 people who are significant to the story. Okay, I would say my wife, first and foremost.
I don't want to get in trouble.
But I think first and foremost we need her.
Yes.
I think we need Chairman Al.
Okay.
Alan. And another partner I have in the movie. Another partner as far as a supporting character would be oh man. I want to say Nick Mitchell, who is actually a co-founder of MKW. Nicholas Mitchell, he is a he's in the VR industry, virtual reality industry, but he actually is our partner as well. So he's one of my co-partners, he's one of the guys that kind of lean on a lot on the business side of things. So yeah, my wife, Nick, and Alan are the 3 people that would have to be in the movie taking up significant screen time.
Okay. It's sounding like a great movie, a blockbuster to say the least, and you could pre-order the tickets now.
Oh, really? Thank you for making this possible.
Oh, yeah. Now on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
You know what? I let people do what they want to do. Is it for me? 99 times out of 10, I won't eat pineapple on pizza. However, there is that time where it happens every so often, maybe once a year, when maybe it's like a really, really, really good day or a really, really, really bad day. And you think, you know what? I'm going to do something a little crazy tonight. I'm going to eat pineapple on pizza. I'm going to have a Hawaiian pizza. And while it's not my favorite, it's just one of those things you have to eat maybe once a year until the next year. Do I love it? No, I don't love it. Is it an occasional special taste that sometimes I very, 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 very seldomly want, yes, that's my take on it. 9 times out of 10, no. One time out of 10, all right, let's do it.
So I want to say that you're kind of leaning more towards anti, but it does seem like you're kind of in the middle here.
Oh yeah. I'm not. I mean, I would be a little bit sad if it never existed ever again. A little bit, like, but that's a taste that I'll never have. But again, it's not something that I do often. Maybe once a year at most. Maybe once every 2 years I'll have it. But to say anti, I'm not anti. I'm just not that into it.
Okay. What's your spirit Pokemon?
What's my spirit Pokemon? That's a good question. In particular, I like Krabby.
Okay.
That is, I am a crab. Yes, I am I was born in July. I'm a Cancer, so I'm a crab. So I've always liked Krabby, and his evolutionary form, Kingsley. Or not Kingsley. Kingsler.
Yeah. All right. Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know
great.
the acronym for Doug? THUG.
Okay. Do I know it?
Yes. Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
Is T Tracy?
I could spell it out for you if you need to.
I don't know the acronym for thug.
Okay. T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail. 'Cause a Doug can't spell.
I like that.
Yes, we love the late great Tracy Smothers, trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
Yeah, I love Tracy Smothers. I actually remember, I used to watch a lot of independent wrestling when maybe in high school, and I remember when Chris Hero was fighting. I can't remember who he was fighting, but he said to another wrestler, "Oh, you know Kenta Kobashi. Well, I know Tracy Smothers." And then he does like a double chop cravat move. I guess it's one of Tracy Smothers' moves. I'm not sure, but I always remember when Chris Hero said, "Oh, you know Kenta Kobashi? I know Tracy Smothers." And then he does some move. Can't remember the move.
Well, we do love Tracy Smothers. We try and we like to keep the memory alive. If there's somebody that doesn't necessarily know who Tracy Smothers is, I'm hoping that they would, give him a Google after the interview. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I support that.
Yeah. Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider booking a Rock for a match? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Yes.
Okay. Well, just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Wow. Yeah, see? I mean, clearly somebody bought tickets to see that, right?
Oh,
I think.
It was the biggest backyard show of all time.
Okay, so, like I said, I keep an open mind about a lot of things. My simple answer is yes. I don't know how I would utilize it, but I think if you let me sit on it for a day or two, I could come up with a compelling, at least to the best of my ability, a compelling idea.
How do I feel that Zombie Dragon is going to get stuck with The Rock?
I think he can make it work.
Oh,
I
100%.
think he can make it work. It would probably be Zombie Dragon.
Yes. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'm open to a lot of roads. Whether that is that we continue to run our like maybe 2 big shows a year where we try to, have a very high production live broadcast events twice a year, or that we're able to come across maybe a good financial opportunity that's able to help us run more, or that we are able to finally get that media deal in China that we so desperately have fought for so long, or that we are able to continue our existence, whether that be through keeping the belts alive, while we continue to search for opportunities to keep the brand alive. I don't know where I'll be in 5 years. I just know that MKW will always be an ongoing presence in Chinese professional wrestling from now until I die, and hopefully until someone picks it up. Hopefully if somebody else picks it up, if I die afterwards. But I am in a very fluid position right now. Just like any wrestling promoter, we're always, strapped for resources and always trying to find the next great big opportunity that we believe could be the one to make it all better for us and everyone around us. Ultimately, what I hope, if anything, is that everybody who's worked with MKW or everybody who's ever wrestled for MKW, worked behind the scenes, but they've all been able to accomplish something more after that because of their experience with MKW. I just want everybody to be able to have benefited from being associated with Middle Kingdom Wrestling in some way or another.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Middle Kingdom Wrestling is all about?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's quite a few matches. I would say first, maybe our Kingdom Rumble from 2019, I think is a great match. Kingdom Rumble match. It's a 15-man Royal Rumble type match. I would also say we had a really great 8-man tag team in 2019 with Big Sam, Uncle Money, Guts, and Crystal versus Jason Wong, Auska, or her name is Benny now, oh my God, it's an 8-man tag. It's just a great match.
I know which one you're referring to.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
I actually know what match you're referring to. It's one of Big Sam and Uncle Money's favorite matches as well.
Yeah. Great. I would say people should look at the storylines of MKW Blastoff and the matches associated with those storylines. I think we did a really great job with the production, with the resources that we had. Obviously, like Cold Ray, when Cold Ray's World Championship reign, when he defeated Zombie Dragon, I thought that was a very, very compelling storyline, and matches were quite good. And as far as since the post-COVID era, there's quite a few great matches, I think. I would suggest people watch Wong Tao versus Andrew Tang. I would suggest that, Alexis Lee versus No Name, I think embodies everything about Middle Kingdom Wrestling, because I have a tendency to add horror to MKW. I'm a horror movie fan. I'm a horror wrestling fan. I'm one of those people that, never complained about the feed because I thought what he did was always awesome. So, I really like wrestling in horror. I would say honestly, this is a very serious response. All the matches from the last show, MKW Championship Supercard from Shanghai 2024, are all great matches. All of them are good, all of them, and I look forward to seeing people's reactions as they continue to be released.
I know the eight-man tag matches on Bilibili, but the other matches, can we find them on YouTube?
They will be. I privated them because we were on the Premier streaming network for 1 year. We were on it for exactly 1 year, and now that Premier streaming network unfortunately did not renew its service after the 2023 to 2024. No, yeah, something like that. I will unprivate those matches.
Perfect. And I will put the two matches, the Rumble and the 8-man tag match, in the description, and the Alexis Lee match as well, in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen them, wants to see them, wants to re-see them after this interview. Obviously, the whole your YouTube page will be in the description of the video below as well, so you can just binge all things Middle Kingdom Pro Wrestling as well.
Awesome.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Okay, speed run. Yeah, I'm good. Let's do it.
Greatest wrestler of all time.
Sting.
Worst wrestler.
Horace Hogan.
You're booking the main event for WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who are the 2 combatants?
CM Punk, Cody Rhodes.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Cult of Personality.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
neither dead or alive.
We would have also accepted tastes great on toast. Squash, vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it has seeds. Tomato logic.
I've learned something today. Thank you.
Yes, we are educational, so... New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh, wow. Can I use like a wrestler who I think like is maybe like too much?
Yeah.
I think like early, like Cody Rhodes from like when he was like dashing or whatever, that era, I think that was probably too short. That's as short as he should get.
Okay, so maybe like 10-20%?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's too short.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
I can safely say no and not yet. I don't know if that would, I don't know. Like, I don't think I've had that about anybody. Maybe if I see like a wrestling shirt of Darby Allin, maybe I would be like, hey, nice shirt. But no, I've never had a conversation about Darby Allin. At a supermarket.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for your patience, and thank you for feeling that I would be an entertaining candidate on your show. I appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. I'm sure that the listeners will definitely enjoy this one for sure. Once again, can you tell us where we can find everything Middle Kingdom Pro Wrestling on social media again?
Please find us by typing like MKW China or Middle Kingdom Wrestling on Google. There you should get our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And if you're interested in me specifically, I'm Adrian G4 on Twitter and Adrian Gomez on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. And you don't even have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his personal social media and Middle Kingdom Pro Wrestling will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow. And if you're in China, buy a damn ticket.
Yes, please.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Twitter, and Instagram, for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Got it.
For our special guest Adrian Gomez, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit
Entertainment.